humans, we are hypersocial beings. We have been hardwired to crave inclusion, to be approved of, and to be accepted. And being rejected is one of our greatest primal fears. Why? Well, because eons ago, approval, thus inclusion, meant survival. Rejection and disapproval meant certain death. In prehistoric times, if you were ousted from the tribe and thus left isolated and alone to fend for yourself, it wasn't long before you were a snack for a pack of saber-toothed cats. Because the consequences of being rejected were so extreme, our brains and our behavior adapted to do anything we possibly could to avoid disapproval from others. In fact, research has proven how social rejection activates many of the same brain regions that are involved in signaling physical pain, which helps explain why disapproval hurts so bad. Even though today we are no longer living in caves or running around in a loincloth on the savannas trying to spear our food and dodge predators, our aversion to rejection and disapproval is still deeply embedded into our primal fears. For many, if not most, it consumes our entire self-identity. And it is the primary drive to all our motivation, to the point where you can have trouble thinking that you are worthy, that you are good enough or successful at all, unless you receive validation from others, and that is especially true at work. Now, seeking approval is not all bad. We all begin in life in a state of complete reliance on external validation. As children, we have to rely on it in order to learn appropriate behaviors. And now as adults, it's still a necessary part of tribal life. We all need feedback and constructive criticism from others in order to better collaborate with our peers, clients, and partners. The problem occurs when outside approval becomes the prize, the end, versus the means to the end. Approval and disapproval should be seen as the process by which you better yourself as you progress towards your self-defined prize. So, how do you know if you suffer approval whores? I'll walk you through 9 of these approval whores, and I want you to assess for yourself and have you decide. Okay, and don't worry if you are horrified by what you discover. Tomorrow, I'm going to walk you through the process to get you on the straight and narrow. As I go through these, write down yes if this is true for you at all, or no if it's not true for you at all. We'll count up your yeses and your nos at the end. Okay, you ready? Got your journal out, write down your yeses and nos, and then we're going to count them. Here we go. Number 1, you agree too much. You appear to agree with someone, either verbally or non-verbally, nodding your head, when in actuality you don't. At work, you change, you downplay, soften, or abandon your point of view in order to appease your boss or to agree with the rest of the team in meetings, particularly in the face of apparent disapproval. Oh, and you take disagreement personally. When somebody disagrees with something that you've said or done, you take it as a personal slight and feel upset or even insulted. Is any part of that a yes or is it a no? Number 2, you pretend too much. You pretend to know or understand something when in truth you don't. You know that awkward moment when somebody assumes that you know something or have a particular skill, and instead of confessing the truth, you just go along or fake it for fear of being judged negatively and losing their approval? Even worse, you feel the urge to tell tales or exaggerate your status to make yourself look smarter, better, or more important. Or even, you might fabricate or exaggerate life circumstances in order to gain sympathy or to impress somebody else. Is any part of that a yes or is it a no? Number 3, you say yes too much. Are you a serial overcommitter? Do you say yes to tasks, to meetings and plans when your instinctive response, your preferred response, is a no? You say yes so that you don't displease others and can maintain their approval. And if you occasionally do say no, do you feel guilty about setting boundaries with others? Is that a yes or is it a no? By the way, failing to draw a line in the sand with a no only reinforces your lack of self-identity and even causes others to think less of you. Number 4, you seek compliments too much. Do you fish for compliments or praise? Are you disappointed when nobody notices your haircut or your new handbag or the idea that you presented in the meeting or the contribution that you made to the project? Are you unnerved if others are praised or acknowledged in a memo, in a presentation, or in a meeting, but you seem to be overlooked? Is any of that a yes or no? Number 5, you say sorry too much. Do you feel the need to apologize even when there has been no disapproval? No matter what has happened and whether or not you had any hand in it, And even if no word of blame has been voiced, the needy approval seeker will always be the first to apologize. Is that a yes or is that a no? Number 6, you tolerate disrespect too much. You fail to speak up if you've been treated unfairly by a coworker, client, or boss. You don't speak up if you've received unsatisfactory service or goods from others. How many times have you moaned and groaned about the food or service in a restaurant? But then when the waiter or manager inquires if everything's okay, you simply nod your head in agreement and say that everything is fine. This is out of fear of displeasing another and then being disapproved of. Instead, you self-sacrifice and suffer in silence, only reinforcing a lack of self-worth, suggesting that you're not entitled to the best of anything, even though you're paying for it. Is that a yes or a no? Number 7, you compare yourself too much. You're constantly comparing yourself to others and feeling a chronic sense of lack because of it. You have to think about this one. Is that a yes or is that a no? And number 8, you gossip too much. You attempt to gain attention, connection, or acceptance through gossip. Sharing gossip is a shallow and frantic attempt to impress others, to reclaim the center of attention, and to gain approval. It is a temporary bolster to low self-esteem. Is that a yes or a no? And don't answer too quickly. Most gossips, which is most people, are completely unaware of their TMZ tendencies. Number 9, you procrastinate too much. You have difficulty making decisions on your own without somebody else's input. You are more worried about what other people will think about your decision than making the decision and moving on, without giving a buck what other people think. Is that a yes or is that a no? By the way, in extreme, this is a form of DPD, dependent personality disorder, and it will not only keep you stuck, it will also cause you to miss out on so many opportunities in life. So how did you score? How many of the 9 did you confess to saying yes to? Please share your score in the comments below. Oh, and ironically, don't be afraid of what others will think of you if you do. The first step towards change, especially your constant approval seeking, is to acknowledge that you do. Seeking approval can become an addiction, and the more approval you get, the more hungry for it you will become. Once you are aware of what it is that you're doing and why, then you can begin to eradicate this primal compulsion. And tomorrow, I will show you how. There's 9 steps. Be sure you come back for that.